Welcome to episode 5 of the Crackpot podcast with James LaFond and Lynn Lockhart. This episode was taped July 11th and will be presented in 5 parts. You are listening to part 2.
Yeah, in some ways I envision Taboo You as a sequel to When You're Food, but it isn't really. I went in 3 different directions with what I was doing with When You're Food. So there's really 3 sequels to When You're Food, Waking Up in Indian Country, Thriving in Bad Places, and Taboo You. So it's looking at different aspects of the fact that we're socially engineered to be devoured by this soul-crushing machine called civilization.
We'll definitely get into those. Today I wanted to talk about this news piece that Steve Saylor put up. He put up this story that was reported in San Francisco. We have this train system here. It's called Bay Area Rapid Transit, so it's just called BART. On one side of it is Oakland, which resembles Baltimore demographically. So this really well-reported story, it's kind of shocking because this is something that doesn't really get revealed very often. But we've had 3 incidents going back to April with this kind of mob assault where the young oppressed youths get on the train in large groups and start doing some robberies and some beatings and this kind of thing, and then very quickly they all vanish. And it's all happening around the Coliseum stop. BART has surveillance video like any transit district, but they refuse to turn over the surveillance video for any of these 3 incidents. I'm reading a little bit here from the article. The quote is, "To release these videos would create a high level of racially insensitive commentary towards the district. And in addition, it would create a racial bias in the riders against minorities on the trains."
So, this is great.
Yeah, so this is what the shitposters call a logic trap. You can't say you're trying to prevent a stereotype. You just created a stereotype, didn't you? Or you just confirmed the stereotype.
Well, that's not important. What's really important is that you have this, first of all, you have a higher level of literacy in Oakland because you have an acronym that can be pronounced as a word. You have BART. In Baltimore, we have the MTA because our people have to sound out every letter. So you don't get this cool acronym like that. The really important thing is that these downtrodden people from Oakland have the opportunity to access soft, available game to prey upon. And I think if your objective is to affect a call of the soft game, why give them a heads up? Zebras warn each other, but most of the other herd animals don't. I think this is good. I think I feel sorry for the Chinese people, but there's a lot of them. They'll replace their numbers. They'll replenish them with more immigration. But the other people, the white liberals, I think it should be a national sport to hunt hipsters and yuppies. I just think I wish I could do it. I wish I could get away with doing it, but I can't.
No, you would be too effective.
Well, there's a problem with pale faces like me hunting people. The authorities come down on that. They want the other people to have all the fun, so I have to step aside. I can't go hunt these hipsters. And it really is heartbreaking, but I'm hoping for a total breakdown of social cohesion when the dollar crashes, and I'll get to see these white people in our neighborhood that have Black Lives Matter posters on their lawn. I get to see them getting raped and beaten in their front yard. That'll just be great. Big Ron and I already decided we're going to drink beer when that happens. We're going to go out on the porch and watch the helpless pale faces get mowed down.
Yeah.
Well, Uncle Charlie, Charles Darwin, is watching, and he's happy. I think this is good.
Yeah.
The mass transit thing here in Baltimore is really fascinating. What happened? They've expanded the service. it's going to be much easier to get mugged. Changing the bus now, we have these bus lines looping around North Avenue. Anybody from Baltimore can tell you North Avenue is the place not to be for its entire length. It's this really blighted ghetto, and numerous bus lines are looping there. So they're starting to make transit stops right in the middle of the ghetto. It's great. It's going to give those people access for hunting more affluent prey. And it's going to permit new people that are coming into town. Our replacements, this bus line, I thought they were reorganizing this to make up for the lost bus traffic because the locals aren't taking it as much. They completely changed it so it made more sense, and they changed all the numbers. They normally wouldn't do that. They changed all the numbers so it's not this evolved system, so it's just planned. It's going to be simpler for people just moving to town to pick up on it. So this system is set up to permit our replacements to get around town more easily, and for the hood rats to have better hunting. I think it's a good thing. Now the MTA is very concerned about your smartphone or other electronic devices. It's a female voice, and the statement starts out with, "Thieves are on the hunt for your electronic device." So that this computer woman advises you not to have your electronic device out so that people might see it, and particularly not at transit points or at the opening of the bus. So they're telling you that there's a lot of this stuff going on where at major transit hubs, people are just getting attacked and their smartphones are being taken. The main reason why the smartphones are being taken is so they can't call for help.
All right.
Yeah, there is a hustle where they can make some money on it, but it's mainly self-defense. So if you can read between the lines, the authorities do let the more intelligent among us know that we are being hunted, and the deluded idiots can just get hunted. So I think it's a good system. I'm happy.
Yeah, that reminds me, the last time I was on the Caltrain, which is another mass transit system that we have here, people were holding up their iPads, their huge iPads, and playing video games on them. And there's really nothing easier to snatch out of your hands than a giant screen while you're very concentrated on your video game. So I was shocked by that. That was a few years ago. But you should tell your hood rats that there's easy pickings out here.
It is good to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And the news next year is going to have somebody being killed over this.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely going to escalate to that. Now, this time last year, there was 1 week where there were 5 knife attacks just in Essex, which is a precinct in Baltimore County. That was unheard of. And the little local newspaper that covered it, they stopped covering. For a while, they just stopped the police blotter. They just stopped reporting it because it just looked too bad.
Yeah.
So I'm really impressed that your people out there have come out and said it.
I am too. It's pretty shocking, and I think that it may indicate some change in attitudes or some, I want to say like maybe a little more courage among people who are not afraid of or people who are getting a little bit less afraid of just saying what they see and how it has become obvious to a lot of people. I think there's some change in the culture going on.
Oh, I wouldn't be too quick to give people credit for courage in this society. The the person who broadcast that, we might very well find out that they no longer have a job. You might want to look into that. And if that happens, then the upwelling of courage will pretty much stop
Yeah,
in
it's
that
true.
area of the media. It depends on whether or not it was noticed. It would be really fascinating to find out if this was something that was decided by committee, and it wasn't just somebody making this one report, and this being the only time it's going to happen before it's addressed like a leak situation.
Right. It had to make it across some editor's desk and say, yeah, we're
Yeah.
going to run it.
Oh,
But
well,
it's
good
worth
for them.
keeping. Yeah, it's worth keeping
Good
an
for
eye
them.
on this. It was Melissa Can who reported it in the CBS station of San Francisco, KPIX.
Ooh.
So we'll keep an eye.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, see if she got a job next week.
Yeah, yeah. Because she could be out like Katie McHugh. She lost her job for making some racial comment.
Oh, it was about if there were no Muslims in London, then these attacks wouldn't be happening. Something to that effect.
Yeah. And it was really shocking because she got fired from Breitbart for that, which is supposed to be a more courageous news outlet. And I thought that was pretty disappointing.
Well, a lot of this censorship is voluntary, and it has to do with people wanting their advertising dollars.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so the
Definitely.
bigger you get, the more success you have on a platform, the more you're going to be tempted to compromise yourself. And I think the people in power realize that. That's the beauty of a materialistic society. You can count on most people to just sell out their own principles. You don't have to put any pressure on them.
All right. It's a self-policing system, and it's hard. I don't know if Katie has she seems really upbeat, and I think she will probably do fine, but it's really hard if you have a family or if you have people who depend on you, because you're not really free to just put your livelihood at risk, even if you're not a terribly materialistic person.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I remember giving a copy of The Logic of Steel to one of my clerks who was interested in it, and I saw he had it out at his register, and he was reading in it, and I said, "Oh no, no, you're not going to bring that book in this building while I'm running things." Okay. So now I'm quoting people saying some things that are not supposed to be said.
Yeah. I haven't read that. That's a hard one to get a hold of, but I'm sure I will eventually.
I've got my one copy.
Yeah.
That's it. It doesn't exist as on my end as a digital copy. I actually wrote that on a typewriter, and they scanned it,
Oh wow.
made a document out of it. It was kind of nice of them to do that.
Mhm. I'll get my hands on it at some point.
Well, for a while, 5 years ago, people were trying to sell them for $1,000. Some guy in Japan sold 10 of them for $249.99 a piece.
Nice.
Right. Yeah, I think I made 94 cents a copy. So.
Thank goodness for copyright laws. Protecting.
Hey, he was a good businessman. He said this will have a cult following, but it's not going to be worth a reprint. It's valuable.
Yeah, that's a market niche that he's exploiting.
Plus, the hard copy, it's really for martial arts people to help them with their knife extraction, and a lot of these guys still don't even have an email, or website, or anything. So the hard copy thing is a big deal with boxing readers too.
Yeah.
Sell very few boxing books in the e-format. Sell a lot of them in print.
Well, that's good to know. Thank you for listening to part 2 of episode 5 of the Crackpot podcast with James LaFond and Len Lockhart.